because it might be a little bit uncomfortable, I challenge you by saying, well, what's the opposite? What's the other outcome? If you choose not to do this, what happens? So as you can see, it is raining. The weather is not so sunny and bright right now. It feels very cold as well. But I wanted to quickly talk about walking, because something really interesting that cropped up this week is I walked my son to nursery, which I've been doing since I finished work. I want him to understand that walking is not punishment. I want him to walk because he can, rather than walking because we have to, or it's like some kind of like punishment of food or whatever it is. I want to teach him that now, and he enjoys it. And so last week I walked him to nursery, and one of his key people, she said to me, she's like, your mummy's so good, Grayson. I don't know how you walk in this weather. And then today, I don't look at the weather, so I had no idea that it was going to rain like this. But as I started to walk home, listening to a podcast, it started to rain, and I was like, ugh. And I thought to myself, this is really interesting, because you know what? If it was even cold, like a few years ago, if it was even cold, I wouldn't have walked. If there was the slightest chance of rain, I wouldn't have walked. I probably would have checked the weather before to make sure that it wasn't going to rain, because that would obviously have an impact on whether I chose to do it or not. But now, I don't check the weather. I don't really care whether it's going to rain or whether it's snowing. I like the snow, but I don't care, because walking is a commitment that I make to myself. Walking is something that I want to do as much as possible, because it's like me time. It's, you know, I walk Grayson to nursery and I'm teaching him something. Then when I walk home by myself, I have some 20-30 minutes to walk, listen to podcasts or music, and it's like quiet time, it's downtime, it's time for me to really reflect before I start working, before I go work out, before I start the busy day. And I guess what's interesting about this is the mindset change, and I've talked about this a lot, but it's the fact that my commitment to walk on a daily basis is way bigger than whether it's going to rain, or whether it's cold, or whether in the moment I'm a bit uncomfortable because my trousers are wet, or whatever it might be. Like, who cares? And I know that we don't want to be uncomfortable, and I know that we don't want to get ill and stuff like that, and that's completely okay, but we're going to get ill if we don't walk, if we're going to get ill if we don't move, we're going to get ill if we don't take our health more seriously. And so, you know, for me, putting up excuses by saying, oh, well, if I walk in the rain, I might get sick. Not moving and eating crap, that made me sick, right? We're going to end up with diabetes and cardiovascular disease and hypertension. You know, these things, or just obesity in itself. And so making an excuse to not walk or move or eat healthily because it might be a little bit uncomfortable, I challenge you by saying, well, what's the opposite? What's the other outcome? If you choose not to do this, what happens? Aren't you still uncomfortable? Aren't you still going to be unhappy? And this is why I always ask my clients to consider the bigger reason why. It's why I always ask you, why do you want to do this? Right? What does healthy look like for you? Why? Why are you doing this? And what can you commit to on a daily basis that's easy? I don't want you to do the hardest thing. I don't want you to go run an ultra marathon. I want you to do what's easy initially and build on it, because the easy stuff gets you the wins. And the more you practice the easy stuff, then you can start to implement the more difficult things. You can start to add in the things that maybe you've thought about before, you know, running a half, running a 5K, running a marathon. Whatever it might be, you can then build on it and implement those bigger things. And the more you do, the more motivation you will find, right? Don't wait around for motivation to come and suddenly, I don't know, dress you and get you out the door. Like, it doesn't work like that. Action begets action. If you take action, you will discover more motivation, because the more action you take, the more able you become. And the more able you become, the easier it feels, the more motivation you're going to find, right? Motivation is not this thing that some people are blessed with and some people aren't. We all have it inside of us, but some people take action and some people don't. But I wanted to talk about implementation, about how it is, it's really easy for me to say, walk more, do this, do that. But it's like, well, how do you implement it? And one of the things that I'm actually going through with a client at the moment is, making a small goal, like walking every day. And she's basically, her and I have discussed, like, doing small walks, 5 minutes, 5-minute walk, versus trying to get an hour in every day, right? I'm very aware that we're all busy, but we all have things that we choose over our health. We have schedules, we have other people's schedules, we are busy, we have meetings, we have deadlines, and you know what, that's true. But I ask you the same question I asked the other day. What is the alternative? If you don't make some space for your health, whether that is in the form of food preparation, or sitting down to eat your dinner, or making a meal when you are hungry, or drinking more water, or taking a walk, or finding the time to get a 10, 15, 20-minute workout in, like, what's the other alternative? What is the alternative if we don't implement some space in our week? And I'm not even saying on a daily basis, in our week. If we don't implement space to do these things, if we don't create a schedule that puts us near the top of the priority list, what's the alternative? Like, seriously. And whilst I have always been somebody who can quite easily put myself at the top, I don't have a problem with that. Becoming a mother meant that it wasn't that easy anymore. So I get it. I totally get it. It's not that easy to put yourself first. But when I was working full-time in employed work, I would create a schedule that worked for me. So I would work 9 till 5, but I would get my workouts in the morning. And my husband and I had this agreement, this conversation that meant that, I had to take some time for myself. My health was important to me. He plays football or soccer once a week on a Wednesday. So on a Wednesday evening, he's not at home. What do I do now? Well, I coach my clients. I spend time writing up their notes. I implement that stuff so that it doesn't eat into my workout time or my walk time, my leisure time. Because yes, it looks really pretty right now and I'm sitting on a bench with a coffee. I'm going to go home and do some work. Like, this is me taking 30 to 45 minutes a day, or at some point in my day, for myself, right? It's not about going all in. It's not about not seeing my son or not getting work done or whatever it might be. It's about finding some time. I could easily have put up an excuse, right? I could have easily said, well, it looks like it's going to rain. And it did rain again. I could have easily said, well, I don't really need to go. We've got groceries coming tomorrow. I could just put those on the shopping list. I could have easily said, I could just get a 10-minute workout instead. But I know that me just walking for even 20 minutes, at least once a day, makes me feel good. And not just physically, but mentally, because I'm putting myself at the top. Because let's be honest, if you're constantly pushing yourself down the priority list, you're telling others that it's okay to do that too. You're telling others that it's okay to push you down the priority list, that it's okay to not put yourself first. And I ask you this week, I challenge you to do something that you wouldn't normally do, right? I ask you to put yourself closer to the top of the list, right? Don't wait for everything else to be done to get your walk in. Don't wait for everything else to be done to prep your food, because usually what happens is it doesn't happen, right? If that's the case, if that's the way it's been for many years, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to give you more time. You all have the same amount of time. Nobody's going to give you any more hours in the day. So you have to take your priorities, and if your health is one of your priorities, if that is something you are trying to commit to, improving your health, right? Ignore weight loss and fat loss. If you're trying to improve your health, then your health, little things that you can implement need to move up the priority list, right? It's about making the choice to put yourself higher up the list. Stop waiting for somebody else to do it for you, because it's never ever gonna happen.
Ladies, I challenge you, I ask you, please move yourself up the priority list. As females, we have a habit of trying to get everything else achieved before we take care of ourselves. Even the most basic things of self-care, like eating healthy, nutritious meals and getting some movement in every day, we kind of move it down. We wait for everything else to be done before we take action. I ask you this week, the challenge, take action. Move yourself somewhat up the list, right? You don't have to ignore everybody else in your life. You don't have to forget about all your responsibilities, but if you are trying to change and improve your health and trying to lose fat or make a change in your life, start now. Don't wait for January 1st. Start moving yourself up the list just a little bit.